Welcome to episode number 3 of the Don't Feed the Photographers Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Atlanta wedding photographer Josh Grasso, and today our guests are the Blumes from Athens, Georgia. They are a husband-wife team that have been wedding photographers for over a decade, and they are also big on the mini session family in-person sales game. And they're going to be talking about that a little bit today. They're just fresh off speaking at WPPI, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and their speaking. If you would like to check out their work, you can go to theblumes.co, and that's Blumes, B-L-U-M-E-S, instead of blooms like a flower. And you can check out their work there, and also some of their educational content, I believe, is linked on there. If you are interested in more of their educational content, you can join their community Facebook group. It's ComeUnity Photographers. And they are getting into a lot more and more projects related to teaching photographers, particularly with in-person sales. So we'll have some links to some of that content in the show notes where you can check out their teaching and education on in-person sales. Also on Instagram, they're just the Blumes, and you can see their work there as well. So definitely check them out. And we're about ready to get into the show. But first, just a reminder to like, comment, subscribe, share, whatever platform you're listening to us on. We are on YouTube. Like, commenting and sharing on there helps the channel grow, but also the audio version is on a lot of the audio podcast platforms you can download and listen to in the car. If you'd like to be on the show, please get in touch. I will be reaching out to lots more photographers to line up lots more episodes. If you'd like to be one of those, feel free to contact me. You can go to don'tfeedthephotographers.com to check that out. All right, let's get into it. All right, Phillip, Eileen, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks,
Thanks for having us.
It's exciting to be here. I feel like I'm a tiny little person sitting on your desk,
yeah,
looking up at you here in the studio. It's an awesome looking space, man.
Thank you. And you as well. You guys have an awesome home studio. I was able to visit it in the past, and it's a cool space. For sure, a little bit jealous. I need to build mine out a little bit more.
Yeah, it was so good having you here. So, but the podcast thing, I'm so stoked that you're doing this though, because just having spent time talking with you and just knowing your heart and how much just experience and passion you have to share. Really, really happy to be here with you. So thanks for the invitation, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw you guys were speaking at WPPI. How was that? Did you guys have fun out there?
Oh yeah, lots of fun, crazy packed schedule, but we did a lot and got a lot of good feedback from the students. We always enjoy hearing all those light bulb moments for sure.
Yeah, WPPI. And I know that for us, we've been going for almost a decade. I think this was our 7th year actually speaking there, maybe. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't know what it is because, it just doesn't make it onto their radar, but it's just this awesome conference. It takes place in Las Vegas every year, just like a lot of the big and best conferences for any industry you can imagine. The photography industry is no different. And so just a lot of energy. Las Vegas isn't our favorite place on earth. It feels, especially if you're on the Strip, it feels like a big adult theme park. Right. And we're kind of there to work and actually meet people rather than party. But it is kind of a party nonetheless. So we had 3 classes, one of those being a shoot that we got to organize out in the desert at sunrise one morning. And just kind of a surprise under the radar thing that we called up 10 photographers and said, hey, guess what? You win a free ticket to do the sunrise shoot. And B&H was out there providing all kinds of cool lighting, and there were models. And so that's the kind of stuff that is really enjoyable, really made some memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that sounds cool, to be able to get out there and actually shoot instead of sitting in classes all day.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
your push gets tired if you do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't. That's the one thing everybody asks. Are you going to WPPI? I feel like I get asked a dozen times.
Yeah.
I still haven't been able to make it out there. Hopefully, maybe next year will be on my calendar.
Oh man, yeah, that would make it even better. We'd love to see you there.
Yeah, cool. So the surprise shoot. So your guys were out shooting in the desert, you said?
That's right. We partnered with Craig Obrist Photography. Yeah. And so it was really cool. We partnered with the models who are local to Las Vegas. So Trendy Accessories provided the beautiful gowns. But it was fun. We got up early morning. It was super cold in the desert. I don't think any of us remembered that. So we were freezing cold.
Eileen she has this funny personality quirk that she'll look at the weather for where we're going And I know by now I have to remind her, like, where we're going is cold, sweetheart. It says really chilly
and
temperatures.
I know that, and I have that in my head.
But whatever
it's
temperature
hard for me to pack for
whatever
it.
temperature it is right then when she's packing is the clothes she packs.
Yeah, and so I still forget my coat.
Oh,
But it is surprising.
Yeah, high of 70, we're good all week. And then like 40 in the morning, like, oops. Yeah, I did the same thing in Texas with Austin. I'm like, it's Texas. It says it's going to be in the 60s, 70s, almost 80 one day. I'm good. And then the first 2 days, it was like raining and like 40, and I almost got sick. Yeah, it was crazy.
Take care of yourself, man.
Yeah. So is there a lot of shooting out as WPPI? I thought it was mostly just a conference, but
it is.
There are a ton of classes, probably 1,000,000,001 classes to be exact.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard of just choosing what to even go to. So there was a lot of that for sure, but there were also photo walks. And then the desert shoot we just organized independently. But we did a photo walk, which we taught on lighting. I think is always super helpful for photographers, especially those just starting out and have no clue how to use an off-camera flash. Thankfully, we had a lot of camera triggers to trigger the flashes, so provided by ProPhoto as well as B&H, and each one of our students got to actually practice taking pictures using the trigger. So they got some hands-on instead of just listening and walking away not knowing how to actually do it. So they got a lot of hands-on practice.
I feel like it's so empowering when, especially if you've been a natural light photographer throughout your professional experience, or you just started to play with flash, but you just kind of use it. You don't really know how to make adjustments to your style before you use it to see real results. It's so empowering and so fun to see eyes just light up when you walk somebody through a few simple steps and all of a sudden the back of their camera looks like magic, and it's not at all what reality looks like. You've actually, as an artist, created something through vision instead of just recording what's in front of you. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's an exciting part of the learning curve when you start to see what you can manipulate with light and stuff. I remember the first time I did something cool with flash, and probably now I would think it was not very good. Like using gels and stuff, and I like jumped out of my seat and I looked at the computer. It's like, holy crap, I did that.
Yeah.
The fun part of playing around.
It really is.
But cool, yeah, I'll have to try to join you guys next year and finally make the trek. So
yes,
10
that'd be awesome.
Years of not going. But cool. So I'd like to learn a little bit about you guys. I know a little bit, but for our audience, a little bit about you guys, the humans, the Blooms, the people behind the business. So yeah, feel free. Tell me a little bit about how you guys started your photography journey. What made you get into it?
We, what made us get into photography? Oh man, what were we thinking? It was, I think, like a lot of people's story is probably not unfamiliar. I think a lot of us in this industry, we've noticed, kind of fell into our professions by accident. And that was no different for Eileen and me. We had interest in photography. I had studied it a little bit in college. Eileen was known among her friends as the
one who takes pictures.
Go-to, person who will take pictures at all the events. And so I had just during college had taken pictures for a couple of my friends at their weddings. And right after Eileen and I got married, so this is 2008. Let me get that date right, please. It's live. But so 2008, a mutual friend of ours, I guess, emailed and said, "Hey, I'm getting married. I'm looking for value photography." Kind of, they weren't looking to really spend or hire a professional. They were very happy to reach out to someone like me who they just knew loved taking pictures. And so they asked to see some of my work from the other weddings. And I asked Eileen, we emailed her a few pictures to look at sort of what the results were. And Eileen she's I gotta get this word right, not the executioner in our marriage, but the executor, yes.
Processor.
She's the detail person. And so she's just, classic overachiever. Instead of just emailing the picture, she thought, I can put together a simple little website. And back then it wasn't easy. It was like you had to hack together a little coding and put together this simple portfolio online. But once that went up online and we used it to send the link to this friend, but somehow other people saw it. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we start getting phone calls from strangers. And that turns into partly probably because our our pricing was, we didn't know what we were doing. We had to charge something. So we set a number. But a few ingredients kind of came together into this recipe where we were just getting booked solid really quickly. And as a result, we had to leave our jobs. My job as a high school teacher, pool boy in the summer.
I was a barista at Starbucks, the early morning shift.
And so we jumped out of that and pretty quickly went full time, the two of us. It was not a profitable business at first. We learned some lessons really, really the hard way.
Starting out, we were just charging $1,800 for unlimited wedding day coverage, include all the digital files.
Unlimited everything. What can we give you? Do you have any requests?
Well, I'm sure we can do that too.
So that was the beginning. And then we got smart. We kind of had a moment of crashing in our business and our lives about 2 years into that full-time photography gig. And as successful, if you want to sort of put that in quotation marks, as we might have looked on the outside, because we were busy and we were posting what we were doing and people thought, oh, wow, they're living the dream. Really, our young marriage was having a hard time taking the pressure of just constant round the clock work and not even realizing we were actually just losing money, like leaking, paying people to do the work we were doing. And so it was a big crash and burn moment. And we can talk more about that, but it really just required us getting smart, acting like professionals, putting on our professional pants and getting people who could feed into us and mentor us, coach us, and also fall on Eileen's business degree. We probably should have thought of doing that early on instead of just being artists. We thought we should. Yeah, it's a business. So it really helped.
Good that you shared a little bit though about mentioning how you felt like you looked really successful on the outside and then you guys were struggling, because that's probably something that a lot of people go through and don't realize, because everybody's showing their best on what they call it, your highlight reel on Instagram.
Right.
And so always often wonder if everybody's got it together as much as they look like. And sometimes it's helpful to know that everybody does struggle at times and you got to fight through it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And don't make the mistake of like trying to imitate the person who looks like they're, right, who's just flashed onto the stage or onto the scene. Because literally, I mean, there's sort of statistics that we know are tried and true. And you can watch most photography businesses, and we've been around for 12 years full time. So we've seen them come into the market and then disappear, come in and disappear on kind of a regular 3-year pattern. And so it really helps so much when you identify which are those businesses that have had longevity, that have survived and are also innovating all the time and growing, continuing to grow. And so that's who we try to look to and learn from. It makes all even if they're not as flashy, they're usually their lives are a lot more peaceful because they're not panicked trying to grow. Yeah. And going, like you said, going crazy on social media, just trying to create popularity instead of profit sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a good way to put it. Popularity instead of profit. And sometimes the most profitable ones you don't see on social media because they're just too busy making money.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, so true.
But cool. And then you guys decided to start getting your business stuff together and started shifting gears a little bit.
Yes.
What was the biggest, I guess, change that maybe put you guys over the top where you felt like you were doing well?
Yeah. Definitely when we switched to doing in-person sales. We weren't doing that before. We did what was called then shoot and burn. So right, just shooting the photography and giving away the digitals.
There was a huge movement back then too, from the shoot and burn model. You're burning discs back then. But the whole shoot and share movement, there were actually a couple, a couple of like new softwares and things that had come on the market who for the first time you could share things in online galleries and things like that are very common now. But the trick was figuring out like how this is convenient. Customers are demanding it, but how do we fit this in with the classic model? Maybe the model of being a photography business just needs to change and follow along with this new way. And unfortunately, I think what wasn't considered was the fact that there's always new technology and innovation and strategies, and that will never change. Business is always adapting, but there are certain business principles and marketing psychology principles, consumer economics principles that never change. And I think a lot of us back then were trying to restructure the way that business worked in general, and it wasn't going to happen. And so it has kind of come full circle. And now I think we have better strategies for how to use these tools. But ultimately, what we learned, what we needed to do was to serve our clients, not just with what they thought they needed, but we needed ourselves to understand what is the value of what we do as photographers. Like, why does it actually matter? Do we even value what we do? And oftentimes we don't. And that's the main thing when we're coaching a photographer. A lot of times the first thing we have to do is actually help them to value their own work. You can't expect your clients to value it until you do, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So actually taking time to order, especially when I had a family, I had to start hiring family photographers and actually buying some photography. It definitely shifts your mindset a little bit.
Yes.
And definitely printing some work for yourself so that you can
100%
see the value prints. It's easier to sell it when you know how much you appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's amazing how you can go that long and think, I've been creating a product, but I've been acting like a purely service business this whole time. I've been trading my time for money, and that's all I ever had to trade when I was creating a product this whole time. And if I had only offered it in the right way, there were people who wanted my expertise and my service to provide it to them. So prints and things like that.
Yeah, definitely serving the client is definitely the mindset. I know there's going to be a lot of clients that just want the cheapest thing possible, which there's going to be a market for that, I guess. But
right.
People are busy. How many personal photos do you guys have that you still haven't looked at or edited, even as
oh man, right? The cobbler's children have no shoes.
Yeah,
they say.
My wife gives me a hard time all the time. She's like, I haven't even seen pictures you took this year. I know, I'm so sorry. I need to take 3 days off just to go through them. I have a whole hard drive of 2019 personal photos.
I love that there's opportunities now for things like chat books and ways to, because we are taking more photos, right? And the curating process is different now. We don't have time to just sit down at our computer and curate the last year's worth of photos and make a scrapbook, but we do make choices when we put them on Instagram and places. So then chat books is one of those cool services that kind of makes use of the way we live today with technology, and then just prints it for us and puts it in a book and delivers. I don't know if you've seen chat books. They have the most hilarious commercials ever made for online marketing.
Yeah, I might have. I know I've seen that idea of a business before, so I might be thinking of them, might be thinking of somebody else. But yeah,
I think it's the same guys who made the ice cream pooping unicorn commercial. Oh man, you've got to look up chat books just to see their ad. It cracks me up.
Will do. I'll have to find it, put it in the show notes. Really curious. Yes, chat books. Yeah, so I think that's part of the mindset that we got to get into. It's kind of actually interesting how everything's gone full circle, because kind of the whole digital revolution, all these people rushing into the business, it felt like the old way was dead almost. Like, just everything only wants digitals. You're way too old school if you want to sell print. And I felt like that was the attitude. Like nobody would want to buy prints anymore.
It was for a while, yeah.
Yeah, and now it's coming back. It's like all the cool kids are doing in-person sales again, and it's
yeah. And then also to go along with that, I know that it's important to keep up with the times, and a lot of people are like, I don't have time, I can't make the trek out there to your studio to come see my images in person. And so we even just found a way to create an online in-person sales experience, so to speak, to where you're still serving them well. And we found that our sales averages didn't dip as much as we thought it would. So there's still a way to give them that full client experience, even online.
Yeah, even if you feel like I don't have the resources, I don't have a studio. I'll never forget one time I forget where we were traveling. I will forget that part, but we were stopped at a Starbucks to refresh our coffee, and I was in line just waiting to order. And this kid comes in. Poor kid looks nervous as can be. He's like sweating through his shirt, but he's got his laptop and he's like looking around for someone who's not there yet. He opens things up and pulls out, what I saw was a couple like print samples. I was like, oh, kid's a photographer. Couldn't be older than high school.
Oh, well.
And then about 3 minutes pass, and this girl about his same age comes in with her parents. Sits down. Okay, it's cool. This is like a high school kid who's probably got into photography and is taking senior portraits for his fellow classmates. Looks like a girl his same age. And I watched him there just while I drank my coffee for like 15 minutes, just helping them to look through portraits of their daughter, and then like pulling out Square. And what was probably one of his first sales. I mean, I could just see how nervous he was doing this process, but then making a print sale. And I was like, if this high school kid can do it, doesn't have any place to do it, comes to Starbucks, but he has the resolve and the intentionality, then any of the professional photographers who are teaching ought to have the same guts to do this. So yeah, it really can be done anywhere. It was certainly our experience that we didn't have a studio until recently, and it was just for very personal reasons that we needed to create that. But ultimately we built our business with few resources, but knowing that artwork, physical heirlooms, is what would serve our clients best.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably pretty amusing to watch the kid out hustling.
Yeah, I loved it.
Probably like feeling like you hit the jackpot getting.
Right.
Well, yeah, whatever it was. I wish I had like gone up afterwards and gotten his email or something. I would love to know where he is now. But yeah, it's fun to watch that.
Yeah, and then find out they turn out to be like some rock star photography.
Yes, probably.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, what's your favorite thing then about besides the profitability, of course, but as far as having the in-person sales model, like, is there any other rewards, or what do you enjoy about doing that?
Yeah. We were talking about this recently because one of our WPPI classes was an all-day long class. It was a real intensive. And it's not something that we normally have time during a short class to kind of get to, but there's this whole aspect of a maturing business where you start to learn a lot from your clients. And it's kind of one of the more strategic parts of sales, but it's getting real feedback on what clients' needs are. And they don't always know, but there's a process of where you kind of find out what are their external needs, and then ask them questions through surveys and things and find out what are their internal needs, what are they really trying to satisfy. And doing in-person sales has helped us just to learn that so organically. I mean, if someone comes into your space, into your living room, wherever, sits down with you, and you get to hear them react to, every picture from their wedding, for instance, that when we started doing that, 10 years ago, we realized, man, this kind of, when we take these kinds of photos, or we thought those kinds of photos were important, nobody cares about those.
Right. Yeah. It's made us shoot differently too, just after hearing their reactions and that immediate feedback as we're going through the images with them.
And what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably one of the best things is to get your market research almost by sitting down and seeing what they react to.
Yes.
100%. That's the scary part too, though, isn't it? I mean, it's like, you don't want to hear a bad reaction. But you just, you do your best and you never stop improving. That's just part of life on earth. I think if you want to live it well, is just never assume that you're going to make it, but just keep transforming yourself as much as you can.
Yeah, definitely. You always got to be learning, always got to be changing, or you end up like buggy whips and horse and carriage or whatever.
Hey, that's nostalgic. I like horses and whips and buggies. No animals were hurt during the production of this podcast.
Yes, only after. But cool. So I'm glad to hear that the in-person sales is definitely something I'm going to be working towards more. Try it out with the family side first, and then try to integrate it.
Yeah. And that's actually how we started doing it. When we decided to make the switch to in-person sales, we couldn't really try it on our wedding clients because their weddings were like a year out or so. So we thought we would try it on mini sessions. So family mini sessions.
The ultimate worst photography genre, right? I mean, we knew that we hated mini sessions because they're one of the easiest ways that you can see people out there like looking desperate as photographers. Like, please, mini sessions are so cheap. I'll practically do this for you for free. This is not written on the Facebook post or anything, but you can just almost hear them crying out like, I need portfolio, I need a little cash flow.
Yeah.
And so we knew that mini sessions were like one of the best ways to ruin your luxury brand, which is what we were trying to build. And so it was kind of a desperate move, desperate times. But we decided if we're going to do this, we're going to just completely flip it on its head and try, if possible, luxury brand mini sessions. And so something we call maximizing mini sessions now. But it was so fun. Like, we hoped the best, but we were really just pleasantly shocked when we tried it for the first time. As much less experienced photographers than we are now. And yet we profited like, it was $8,000 that first weekend that we tried mini sessions. That's not normal for mini sessions, by the way.
No.
So it was really, really great.
And
That's
it's
the
really
sales that you're doing.
yes.
Right? They're
Right. So making it
Mhm.
just a process you walk the client through that makes it possible, and also just gently educates them that it is desirable to order product. And so
getting rid of that assumption that, oh, everybody just wants the digitals, because that was the mindset of a lot of photographers. No, you just only charge $100, $150 and just hand over the digitals.
Mm-hmm.
But we're leaving this big portion of clientele out. Those who actually want the end product, those who actually want to display their pictures. And
what you said earlier, Josh, was a huge piece of the puzzle too, is that there is a part of the market who just wants digitals, and you can educate them. You can even like browbeat them over the head with the rules and all of your beliefs and values about photography. Some people just aren't going to value that. There's different personality types. There's different parts of the market. So a really, really crucial part that we found is how do you identify and market specifically to people who are just uberly qualified leads, people who you don't even have to educate. They already, for the most part, value what you do. And for Eileen and me back then, we didn't know any of those people. Like the part of the economy, the class, I guess, the economic class that we were part of, we just didn't walk in those circles. And I never did my whole life. I grew up just super, super poor. Most people would probably be surprised. Like, it wasn't an exaggeration. I grew up in a 100-year-old farmhouse where there were holes in the walls and animals would come into our house.
Just pets.
And not just pets. So it was, and I was a happy child. Like, I had a great childhood. My family loved me. That's all I needed. But I didn't appreciate really the amazing amount of stress and pressure and pain that now I know my parents went through during all that time, just trying to provide for us and try to keep us fed. And so now with our 3 kids, and just honestly, like, being able to build our dream home and build a professional studio and do the things that we do, like allowing our kids to travel with us and see the world and just the experiences, it's for me, I think something that I've literally had to just work through, not to feel guilty about success.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it's related. It's some of the coaching we've gone through is just sort of like an element of trauma almost that I'd never appreciated as a kid that I lived through. And now it's almost like guilt, like survivor's guilt to do well. Yeah. I want to help people I know a lot of people have similar experiences, and just helping us get past that and realize that you can succeed and do well for yourself while helping other people at the same time. And you can even do it at a larger scale because you're succeeding. A starving artist never fed the hungry. If you succeed as an artist, you can make huge impact on the world.
Yeah, definitely. And it's got to be a lot of gratitude when you go from not having what you had, and then to be able to build something that you're proud of and that you can provide for your kids and things. It's got to provide a lot of gratitude that can help keep you going.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's mind blowing. And yet gratitude is like a choice every day at the same time. It's amazing, the human condition, but I find that, you can always, even, the material, the income, a succeeding business, ultimately you got to know, like, what's your why? Why are you doing it? Why are you building the business? What are the goals that you want to achieve through it, other than just making money, or else it's amazing how it doesn't fulfill. But if you choose thankfulness every day, and I'm glad you mentioned that word, because that's so key. You choose thankfulness every day, and helps you to reset your mind and keep focused on the why, I think. So that is really a big point.
Yeah, you almost have to be intentional about it. It's very easy to lose sight of that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, awesome. So cool. Sounds like the in-person sales has definitely been a great boon for you guys. And so you said you moved. So yeah, a lot of people tell stories that, they work for all their friends and that's how they got all their clients. But then you mentioned, if you want to have a luxury client, and then we're not luxury people. Like, I'm rich. I was a teacher, and like we were both teachers. So like, it's not like we.
Yeah, that's right. We were both teachers.
Yeah. don't have a bunch of rich friends to. What was your first step or biggest step that you started to be able to get your ideal client? What was the biggest?
Yeah, one thing that it's amazing. You have to kind of, I think people use the phrase a lot. You fake it till you make it.
Right.
But then I forget. I wish I can remember the doctor's name who's talking about. There's this great TED talk where she talks about you don't fake it till you make it. What you really have to do is I forget the term she used, but
till you become it.
Yeah, or act like it till you become it.
Right.
And because you don't just make it on false pretenses, you actually, what she teaches is like confidence building and essentially like claiming, even if you have a lack of confidence, so much self-doubt just weighing down on your shoulders. Yeah, and we've all dealt with that. Eileen has over the years. That's just a part of her challenge that she deals with in a really strong way, right?
Yeah, kind of that low self-esteem, just no confidence in myself.
That's a big one for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people that are in this industry, particularly, something about creatives. Always struggle with that, and it's amazing when you sit back and think about how much of business is our own psychology. Like, it's not just math. It's not just step by step. There's something in your emotional stores in your brain that prevents you from doing smart things sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because your emotions are actually what control your actions.
Yeah.
And we think it's all logic based, but what you have to do is you train your mind to shape your emotions, and it's a real act of the will and consistency every day. But if you can use your mind to change your emotions, then you start seeing behavior change and results as and positive results come back as well.
Yeah, mind over matter.
Yeah,
and to me, that whole idea used to seem so kind of like hippie, kind of like karma. It's not real, but it's just kind of a simple way of saying something that's very practical and how your biology works and how your psychology works. So it really it's just really true. And I think for Eileen, it started with not even being willing to call herself by her title.
I was still working at Starbucks when we were starting our photography business. And when I would hear of a bride getting married, I wanted to pitch our photography services. And I would say, oh, I do wedding photography. And then I didn't realize that was coming across as like, oh yeah, I dabble in it.
Right.
I wasn't confident enough to say, I'm a wedding photographer.
Right. Yeah.
And I actually struggled with that for a while.
Well, even sometime in when I would recognize that, it's like, don't just tell people you do some photography, tell them you're a photographer. And even though it was hard for her to mouth the words.
Yeah. And so I can totally relate to, photographers out there who just like don't have the confidence. They're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm good enough. Well, I still sometimes feel that, but I have to just completely get over myself and be like, okay, I'm just going to do this anyway. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other and move forward and just do it. Not, don't even dwell on it. Don't think about it, but just do it because I need to do something. I need to learn to be able to fail and learn from my mistakes.
Yeah. So much of it is about building your own identity to fit what you want to become. So you have to, I am a photographer. Comes before you actually am a photographer.
Yes.
You have to be willing to say it before you ever get there. So it's definitely that balance that you have to figure out. It's almost like the law of attraction a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Believe it before it'll happen.
Yep.
And then I think the probably the second mistake that someone starts doing that and really doing some great self-transformation, and then they see some improvement, but they still feel stuck sometimes because a new problem arises, which is you're doing the right things, but then you're just waiting to be discovered at the same time. Like we're the American Idol generation, right? Like this idea that you're gonna win a competition or someone's gonna pick you out of your high school and cast you in the Hollywood starring role, and that's not really how life works. In fact, for the many different things sort of on our bucket list that we've been able to tick off to this point in our career, I've listed some things before, and virtually none of them were ever given to us. Virtually none of them did we receive an invitation or get pulled out of a hat. It was always like, that's something that I believe in, that I want to do. I'm going to find a way that I can provide value to the person running it or organizing it. And I'm going to pitch to them, I'm going to ask like, can I help you, or can you find a way? I'm going to create value for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to help them
Yeah.
whether they pay me back for it or not. And you prove yourself, you make an impression, and ultimately you find out everyone out there is just like you, struggling, trying to make successes, trying to run a business. And if you can come through for them and make their lives better, then you become invaluable to them. And that reciprocity that I think you're alluding to with, and it leads to attraction.
Definitely.
So yeah, to me, it's in my mind, it's kind of that two-step process of acknowledging your value as a person, as an individual, working on that continually, never ends. And then step two is like providing that value, and just provide value, with maybe a plan for, don't expect anything in return,
Right.
but have a strategy of providing value, because if that person does reciprocate, which they often will, then you know that they have a place where you can fit in and provide something of value to yourself as well.
Yeah, creating value, I think, is really the fundamentals of what business is. Ultimately, if you're going to get money from people, you need to be providing something that they're willing to pay for. So really, the bigger the business you are, the more successful you are, is all related to how much value you've created for people. So I think that was the biggest aha moment in studying business, is realizing it, thinking of it from those terms. It's not just standing on the corner saying, look at me, give me what I want. Yeah. I'm awesome. Give me your stuff. It's give. Yeah. I mean, you have to find a way that you can, efficiently and sustainably give in ways that'll pay off. So it's definitely helped with the vendor relationships. I think instead of saying, oh, I worked with you, you want to like work with me, or I'd love if you recommended me, you got to think, okay, what can I do for other people that, maybe some of them will just be like, okay, great, thanks for helping me out. But some of them will appreciate it, or you really did something that really helped them. And that's how you can get their recommendations. You have to think of what can I do for people to earn what I would like.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like practical pro tip, very practical tip that, and this is not to shame anyone, right? Because I've done the same thing early on, but it's just this recurring thing that I'm amazed how many emails we get consistently with someone who we haven't met asking, can we get coffee sometime? I just want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
Like and it's like, the idea is, well, I'll add value by buying someone coffee, but that's such little value. And they want to exchange that for someone's time. Time is of the ultimate value. It's all we have. Ultimately in life is our time. And it's the one resource we can't replenish. So instead of doing what I have certainly made the mistake in doing, and what I see a lot of people do, is asking, like, can we just get together so you can get to know me, basically, and hopefully you'll like me.
Right.
But just without using anyone's time, finding that way to serve them, and something that can help improve their lives.
Yeah, definitely. It's a big framework. I guess I'm starting to get to that too, where people email me and ask to work with me and stuff. And you want to help people, like, naturally.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And it takes your time, and they're a stranger. So you have to figure out ways that you make connections first before you ask for things. So yeah, that's pretty good. So cool. We got pretty good idea of your journey of photographers. Definitely had some good introspection, talked about our identities and things like that. Tell us a little bit about your I guess your life outside of photography. Usually I like to start with that, but I skip it. Yeah.
It's kind of fitting. It's kind of fitting that we just went in whatever order, because one of the biggest things to us as parents, and as someone who's as a couple who have just been in the industry for a long time and has some longevity, has become, I think, what most people call work-life balance.
Right.
And to us, that's just so important, because you can be doing a lot right, and you can be doing it to a level where you just can't maintain. Almost like too much success breeds failure. And you don't have the systems in place to manage it all. So a lot of people call it work-life balance, but I just don't like that picture as much, because it's kind of this image of
I don't know, struggling.
The American habit of kind of living for the weekend, right? So it's like, if I pour in enough work, as miserable as it is, and as much as I hate what I'm doing, and as ineffective as I am being, as long as I just keep pouring it in and plugging along hard, then I'll earn some time off. And that's the work-life balance. And so for us, we often talk about unity, and that's why our education and our photographers community group is called not just community, but ComeUnity, because we want something in life where, you know, because I want to get to your question exactly about like, what are we doing when we're not working? But it's amazing. We work a lot, but honestly, we have like a really good, I guess, schedule of certain things where if you added up the hours, we worked so few hours overall. What was important to us is if you look at every section of your life, like in a pie chart almost, or a wagon wheel, that the spiritual part of our life, the relationship part of our life, there's the business part of our life, and the financial part, there's the travel and interest part of our life, all those parts of our lives that make us who we are. If any one of those is missing, I think it was, he had such a great name. One of the early self-help mentors, Zig Ziglar, talked about how if any one of those is missing, then your tire's going to go flat, and it really leads to burnout. And so a lot of people think they're going to be more effective if they work. And we've found that if you work hard plus balance the rest of your life, that's when you become effective. And so for us, that's just like there's never a season where we want to have to tell our kids no, like we're just not going to invest in our relationship with you, our children. We have to outsource you to babysitters all the time. It's funny, of all the things we outsource, the last thing we personally want to outsource is our children at this point, because we just realize how valuable they are. But instead, even if it's small things, allowing your business and your life to work together. So like just intentionally, as wedding photographers is hard, right? Because we're like, we have to shoot 30, 40 weddings a year, and making really hard, scary decisions that we did to like shoot no more than 10 weddings a year. And then the rest of our weekends, now that our kids are doing like ballet and sports and they want to go camping, and just being able to take them camping on the weekend and know that, you know, at least 42 of our weekends are going to be available to them, which is a big deal.
Yeah, I need to get to there in a couple of years. As I'm building up my business, and my goal is to fill up every weekend I have. And then now that I have kids and realize, oh crap, they're going to be at school.
And it works for a season, doesn't it? Because like sometimes like your kids are at an age where you can spend the weekdays with them, and you have so much freedom and flexibility to shape your destiny as a self-employed business person. But yeah, it comes to a point where there are situations in life and their school schedules and event schedules, and what I never want to do again, and where I have been before, is this feeling that, well, this is the situation that we live in. There's nothing we can do about it. The environment around me is just all against me. A lot of times we feel like that everything else is the problem, and honestly, it's us who's the problem, because we're not making solutions. But the good news is we're also the solution. Like if we realize we're the problem, and we realize, well, then we can change us. That is the one thing we have control over. I can change me and the way I do things. And you have to be clever sometimes, but you can be the solution to all of those problems as your life, you know, just naturally evolves and changes your priorities and who, you know, your family's needs and all those things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the biggest fundamental mindsets that successful people have, is that internal locus of control. So even if it is somebody else's fault, or even if you couldn't control, you know, the weather that made nobody show up to your bridal show, the only thing you can control is you. So if you're not focused on that, you'll never get anywhere.
Yeah. How are you going to react to it?
Right. Exactly. So what can you do to change your circumstances is definitely important. But yeah, so 10 weddings a year, that sounds great. So you can
well, it's funny because, I mean, part of that is, of course, raising your prices and finding out how do you market to make a higher price appealing, and how are you going to find the people to pay that to make up the difference. So it's kind of a math and a marketing game.
Right.
But then for us, you know, Eileen's our numbers person, and I don't want to misquote it, but I think our average wedding now is somewhere around 9,000.
Yeah.
So that's a good income if we just shoot 10 weddings a year. And we've been doing it so long that we have a system that makes it pretty easy. Yet we can still really invest in and get to know our couples even better because there's fewer of them.
Right. I think the biggest benefit is
it's a huge benefit. I love that. But the funny thing is that although our whole website shows us as wedding photographers, that's our brand, and that's what allows us to book those sort of luxury It's funny. Actually, our weddings tend not to be luxury weddings. It tends to be people who really love photography, though, which is maybe even better, because they want to invest in that above everything else. But what really is the engine of our studio, we don't even show it on our website. We don't even talk about it that much. Well, we talk about it a lot to photographers, but we don't have. It's family portraits and those mini sessions. So that, I mean, we started those as a way to just kind of salvage our business that was hanging by a thread. And we've just continued every single year over the decade to just refine that system and learn more from it, until it's something that literally, every when we shoot a 20-minute mini session, it profits us more than we used to profit from our original wedding bookings. I mean, and we would plan and deal with planners and mothers of the bride and all these emails back and forth, and then 12 or 14 hours on the wedding day back then. And we look back and we're like, we were doing all of that for what it takes us about 20 minutes to accomplish now. Is awesome. And that's why I think that's really what has been responsible for our being able to scale and grow our business to an award-winning level with the fastest growing business award, is because of those mini sessions. And so that's really, in a way, our business is a mini sessions business. Even when we're not advertising it, it's going on in the background.
That was that third class that we taught at WPPI.
The full day class.
About 10K weekends.
Well, that's an interesting thing to bring up, is because I've struggled with that idea. Is my website's all focused on weddings, because if you have to have a really good impression and really good brand foot forward to book any wedding. So my family stuff is all hidden.
You need them to trust you and know that you know everything about that genre.
Yeah. And so moving into family stuff, trying to build up some more of that. It's kind of interesting to say it's not on your website and things like that. So I guess, how do you present yourselves to family clients if it's not the focus of your brand and your website?
Landing pages. So we use a landing page.
So it's intentional. Intentional marketing.
Right.
That is, a lot of us just spend desperate amounts of time on social media, as we were talking about before, trying to market that way. And what that amounts to is what we call awareness marketing. It's the same as if you paid a ton of money, which is actually less valuable than your time that you're spending on social media. If you just spent a ton of money to put billboards up everywhere, right? You would just hope and pray, so many cars are driving past this billboard. Surely it's going to result in tons of people calling me and beating down my door to work with me for their portraits. And I've literally seen examples of that, where a photographer had billboards campaign. It didn't, after that campaign was over, he didn't repost them again. But awareness with advertising is just all we kind of know when we kind of walk into the dark, room of business that we've never been in before. Because we know Coca-Cola does it. We know the big companies pull out Super Bowl ads, and they can't even measure really the return, but they have to keep awareness around the globe. That's not what our boutique businesses need. We don't need awareness advertising. We need very focused boutique marketing. And it has to have an opportunity that leads your client by the hand to a call to action. And our websites are pretty much not designed for that. If anyone just follows your post to your website and it's oh, they're awesome, I'm going to follow them on Instagram, or I love it, doesn't lead to them actually giving you money. So that's where that popularity becomes more prescient than profit, which is what we need. But yeah, landing pages are just, they're not a button on your website that you can click to or click around. It's just one purpose on one page of the web that can't even be found unless they click on your call to action, your very specific marketing. And it's usually, you can pay for that. You can pay for Facebook ads. If you're doing them right, they're really effective, as long as that ingredient of the landing page isn't missed. And that's step one, right? Because you get them in the landing page, and then you have to, a lot of them won't book on the first land. But if you have a nurturing kind of communication that you begin with them by convincing them to share their information with you, and then you can begin a conversation via email and that sort of thing, then you can have if you do it right, you have a huge percentage of people who find you, and then you guide them then you guide them by the hand and nurture them into a trust relationship, and you do have a huge number of people who book. And so you can do all that almost without a website if you're just very intentional about it.
So have you found, because that's actually kind of my strategy when I get my family portrait stuff up and running was a lot more of direct marketing and advertising. So it almost feels like it would work better in the family space than the wedding space, because wedding's such a big decision. It's hard to just book somebody through an ad versus a relationship.
Yeah. Anytime it's very much like, you experience this at wedding trade shows, right? It's like I was booking like crazy at wedding trade shows until I raised my prices, and you kind of realize there's a limit there, because for someone to spend so much money to make a certain level of investment, they have to have an added level of trust. Trust with a capital T is the number one quality that leads to sales. And your booking is your first initial sale. So that has to be there. And that's why the more you charge for a wedding, say, a wedding includes so many aspects coming together, so many services you're going to be providing ultimately, that having a direct referral, a personal referral, lends you that trust that you need. But there's also a lot of, if you do have the chance to meet someone in person at a trade show, there are ways to increase that trust. And there's a lot that goes into that, but you can book weddings at a higher rate. When it comes to ads, you're right. I mean, I think you'd see a lot lower return on investment if you're advertising high-end weddings than if you're just advertising a portrait session. But not only a portrait session, but this is a question I believe floating out there because it's too much to get into, but just for those who know what I'm talking about, this will spark an idea, is what about the concept of a loss leader? Like if there's any way that you can just offer someone an experience with you, even if you're not really making anything off the front end, if you have anything that you can offer to bring someone in and allow them to experience the value you have to offer, then that will lead generally after someone makes an initial purchase with a business, any business, after the initial purchase, the next purchase will be 10 times more because you've leaped that hurdle. So it's something to think about when you're pricing sessions and designing the offerings that come with that.
Yeah, definitely. So so the mini sessions, have you guys found that you've been enjoying doing that more now that you've slowed down to weddings? Is that more is it the same kind of, because a lot of people get into weddings and they love it and they want to keep doing it, and then they almost think of, at least when I started, I don't know.
Yeah, they love it or hate it, actually, Josh.
Yeah, true.
It's pretty split 50-50. Yeah, no, there's people who just love weddings.
Right.
And I have to be honest, like I love weddings when I click with the couple. Like I'm genuinely there just celebrating with them. And I love it. I'll never get tired of that. But then you shoot, 200 or 300 weddings, and there's plenty of them that you come away from and you're kind of like, gosh, I just hope they stay together. And that was really awkward. And I just don't want to shoot weddings anymore, So it's kind of depends on how many of those experiences you have. I think some photographers are very happy to get out of the high stress inducing, so many things to go wrong kind of environment that weddings provide. So for us, the mini session portraiture business that we've built, just this whole structure is, to me, it's just, there's nothing about it that stresses me out. Since we've got the system so tightly wrapped now, it's just so fun. And for us, since we've been doing weddings for 12 years, a lot of the times it's our past wedding clients with these families that they've been growing. And it's such a joy to be part of that, just on a human level. But it also just makes your business easier because the best kind of clients are return clients. And you don't get a lot of return clients if you're doing just weddings only. You don't necessarily want those kind of return clients as often. So it's been a joy. Yeah, we love it. And you have to still think of what genre you want to do within portraiture, because I love kids. And I know for some people a certain age of kids they're going to want to avoid, but no,
he's great with kids. He's the child whisperer.
We've enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I've got a knack for that too. Weddings, I've always got a couple killer shots of the flower girl and the groom.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe from being a teacher or having two young girls, I've got to do. So I used to hate well, I didn't hate, but I used to not really enjoy family sessions as much until I had kids, and now I appreciate the value of family portraits more.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different, I don't know, it's crazy how
perspective.
That is my perspective. Yeah. So since it's like we were talking about earlier, you have to appreciate it before you can sell it. So
100%.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'll be pushing into it soon. So hopefully I'll enjoy it as much as you guys have.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still have never done a mini session yet. I've only done full family sessions, but I keep saying every year when, especially, you know, you have like a month where you get very few wedding
Right.
Yeah.
every time I'm like, crap, maybe I should hurry up and do some mini.
That's where you don't want to panic, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like if you panic and do it the normal, like a typical mini session, you'll just have pain and suffering later on.
Right.
A lot of not worth your time. But if you put a system in place the right way with advanced marketing and qualifying some leads ahead of time, it can be spectacular. It's just by the time you arrive on the location to take the portraits, it's kind of like you're just celebrating at that point, because you already know that the system is running and you've got the right people there, and it's you don't have to wonder what the results will be.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. How long how many times a year do you guys set up mini sessions, would you say?
So we definitely do it one time a year, sometimes twice. So fall and then springtime. Yeah.
And that would be mini sessions, what we call events. So
Right.
these are kind of like publicly announced mini session, maybe weekends, usually on the weekends. But we also like to try to plug in a Friday there, so we're not just giving away our weekends.
Yeah.
And so those are our events. And then there's a lot more to be said about how you can keep mini sessions rolling throughout the whole year and make them really profitable. But it's not by advertising big events, because then that makes the events just omnipresent, and
Right.
there's not urgency to book when those events pop up, because it's like there's always an event. And so we just do different marketing that kind of keeps it sneaky, and it's kind of like direct person marketing that allows us to fill in the gaps throughout the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of it, you think, like return clients that you've kind of built up.
Usually during our events, because that's when we'll actually announce to our list of past clients, and as that list grows, then an email blast is almost all you need to just fill up that weekend. Mm-hmm. And then the other stuff takes more strategy, but that's after a while. It becomes really nice after a little while with those past client return, for sure.
Awesome. Cool. I think we'll shift gears a little bit. So one thing I like to do is have my guests share a couple of favorite photos, and it's a good way to learn either what they value or learn their approach and their photography philosophy. So we can go ahead. I'll pull up some. I know you shared some personal stuff, which is what I always like to share as well.
Yes.
About my favorite photos, and then you have some professional ones. So I don't know what order I have them in. I'm not
They can be random.
Yeah.
not sophisticated enough, so we'll see what comes up first. It'll be like a lottery.
And Josh, I just want to say, just full disclosure, in about 4 minutes, our kids get off the bus, and
okay.
Bus needs to.
Eileen will into that.
I will
right,
go
cool.
run and do that.
Yeah, we'll let you get the kids. We don't need them running around the house.
Hey, that's or just leave it in. That's unity, right? It's just all of this going on at the same time.
They're gonna come home and be like, yeah, we got the house to ourselves, Jack.
This is great. This is not necessarily like one of our favorite pictures in the sense that everything was just perfect about it, or that it was going to win a print competition award, but this just represents the just the simple kind of family portraits that we create during mini sessions. Mm-hmm. And this one in particular represents a family who just has loved the experience that we've built up around mini sessions so much that they've come back year after year, and there's more children in the family now, as we've kind of watched them go from a young couple to a couple with children, and it's just awesome to see them every year. So that kind of represents that part of our business.
Cool. So it's like your bread and butter classic family shot, nice traditional with a little bit of personality in there.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We kind of, even though I love to use off-camera lighting on everything, I usually just blend it really nicely so it looks more light and airy, natural light.
Right.
But we can still control and shoot at any time of day, especially when you're filling up a whole day full of minis. You got to make all the lighting look nice, even when you're shooting at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing, I guess, when you do a mini session, it's harder to time the light perfectly because you're going all day, right?
Yeah, you just create that freedom for yourself.
Cool. All right. Let's see. On this one, excited for you to talk about this one. I know I've learned about this story a little bit with you in the past, but you can go ahead.
Yeah. So this is Angel. This is just one of the boys who's part of our Derek group at Ngadi Ministries. So Ngadi is, we talked a little bit earlier about that time in our life where our business and just our our relationships and everything were just kind of at a breaking point. And we talked about how we changed up our business structure and started mini sessions back then. But the other piece, this sort of the other half of the whole, was before we even learned how to make money, we just stepped back and we're like, we need to clear our heads and remember what photography is all about for us. And at that time, we just took off of our failing business, and we went to Guatemala to try to do something for the greater good. And that was just creating photos and videos for this organization who's doing awesome work. I had volunteered as a college student in Guatemala, so I had seen organizations, big bloated organizations that were failing in their missions and wasting resources. And I found this organization was just like not known by anyone. They were just pouring out their own resources, what little they had, and having huge impact, getting kids out of gangs in one of the most violent slums in the world, and giving them education, giving them a family environment safe for the first time. So that doing that project, we learned so much. For one, it just revitalized us to do a personal project like that. But also we came home, and as we shared the work, we learned how important it is to have a why for your business that other people will connect with. And so you can't connect with everyone in the world. You don't need to, but people who appreciated what we were doing and who loved that kind of work, who related to that, it became very interesting to see how much they quickly came to trust our business, want to support our business. They knew that when they supported our business, that our business was supporting stuff like this. And so this is just represents one of the trips that I made down there to update pictures and video assets and things for this organization. And then we run marketing efforts just trying to gain support for the work that they continue to do there. And I work with them on the board to this day, since all those years ago. It's been fun to see how that's the alarm for the bus, right? It's been awesome to see how these boys some of them have like grown it from kids to adults, and lives changed. And that's what it's all about, I feel like.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think it's important to find ways to do some personal projects to get in touch with like really the power of doing photography and getting back, like you mentioned earlier. Just finding time to be able to be successful as photographers so that you can get back, and doing things like this. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, it's a superpower. I mean, every photographer listening needs to know this. Like, you're not just your artistry, but visual communication. Visual communication is a superpower. It connects with people in a way that other communication cannot. So yeah, use it however you can, and you'll find that it's you can do great things with it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the way that you can capture people's emotions and tell stories through pictures. It's a phenomenal skill.
Yes.
Cool. So then I guess the other two are probably personal photos, right?
Yeah, this is our family. This is the first photo that we have of us all together as a family. So Leo is our son, Leonardo. He's in the middle there. And this is us in China, holding him in our arms for the first time. So we adopted. That's an important part of our story, and we love to support the adoption and foster community and give back to that in any ways that we can as a studio and as a family. So so this is just, this is why we do it. This is our three kiddos are just remarkable, and we loved this is having Leo become a part of the Blooms for the first time on this day.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's like instant family upgrade versus like,
yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess actually I was going to say versus the long process of your wife being pregnant, but it's a long process getting the adoption situated and everything, I'm sure.
Our two older girls, Jasmine and Juliet, were born to us biologically. So we sort of have that experience of anticipation. And with Leo, it was similar. We knew very little or nothing about him until very soon before we met him. But we did go through the whole years long. Actually, it's longer than 9 months. Yeah. So some years of preparing and going through the legal process. So it was exciting. It was exciting to get to the end of that. Actually, just remember why you're going through it all, to have this, give this boy a family, let him learn what that means.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's something we haven't committed to officially, but it's been on our radar as a possibility.
It takes a lot of consideration, but it's so worthwhile.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great to see. Great to see. He seems like a happy little guy.
He is. He's adjusted beautifully. Yeah, he's a Blume through and through. It wasn't too hard with him, thankfully.
Cool. And then I think the last photo we have shares a wedding photo.
Yeah, this is in. It's not the most pleasant name for a European city. Gijón sounds like a donkey a little bit, like Gijón. But this is in Gijón, Spain. And this was just a lot of fun. I mean, this couple just this is the kind of weddings that we like to shoot, where the couple's just incredibly in love. We can kind of plan ahead, scout our location, set up our shots, consider our lighting. But then after that, just let go of control and allow people to be themselves and interact. And that's what we're always going for, is just authentic emotion, interaction, ultimately in that finished image. So we were really pleased with the way that came out, but also just the memories we created going there, and our children being able to travel with us for that wedding and all the shoots.
Yeah, that's cool. They got to bring the family along. That's definitely a goal. When we talk about work-life balance, to someday be able to bring them with you and share in some of the cool stuff you get to do.
Yeah. World schooling. So we've done homeschooling for years. We're the kids are in the public school this year, just so that we can finish some big projects. But we love that we have the freedom. We plan to take them out again next year and do some more travel.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's on our bucket list would be too far away.
Yeah, right.
But something that we want to try to do at some point when they're a little bit older and easier to manage.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Were you bringing them the whole time, or was that more when they got a little older?
Yeah, well, they've the first experience that Leo had with our family, as a 2-year-old when we adopted him, was like jumping on a plane from this city to that city, from that city to Beijing, from Beijing to LA, from LA to, or wherever we landed, Chicago, to back home to Atlanta airport. So all he knew, I think he probably imagined that his life with us was going to be like airplane travel.
Yeah.
And then the kids have just adapted to that and travel so well. I think we were afraid at first, but we just didn't let it get in the way. We just said, we're going to do it and see how it goes. And they adapted. So it's awesome that they love it. And we've been taking them with us pretty much since before Leo came along. So they were pretty young.
Oh, cool. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely inspired by every time I see people doing it. I don't know if you've heard of Laney and Erica Mann. They've got the
2-man studios. Have met them briefly and love seeing their wild family, like them and their 2 kids just everywhere around the world. I think their kids end up in all their test shots and things, which is fun to see.
Yeah, so that was a cool. Now they're trying to settle down and have more of their kids in regular school and everything. But basically spent a year taking their kids everywhere, and they got the coolest images of their kids looking at the lions and in India. And I was like, man, I really need to do that. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, so worthwhile. I mean, what else? What better gift could you give them? I don't know.
Real, yeah, to be able to share this with your family, especially struggling for so long of trying to figure out how much time to dedicate to your business versus your kids, and then to be able to like combine it a little bit would be pretty.
Yes.
But awesome. Yeah, it was definitely great chatting. The last thing before you go is definitely want to give the audience a chance to hear where they can find more about you guys.
Hey, Eileen's back. Thanks for stepping back in, Eileen. Yeah, we would love to connect in a real way. I know, people come along and are listening to the podcast and things, and you get the opportunity to interact with some of them. But we would love to do that. Our goal is to help photographers create unity in their businesses and transform their lives through that. So we do that through our ComeUnity photographer group. And so you can really just visit us at the blumes.co, and go to our photographers page for photographers. And you can join our email list in our group really easily that way. And that's what we're here for, is just to help people who are making that move to get their business up and succeeding, but also for the long-term success, where your life and your family's part of it too.
And that's the Blumes, the BLUMES.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people will spell it BLOOM, but it's BLUMES.
Like Judy Blume. That's what you tell people, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The Blumes.co. And then also, did you already talk about Instagram? So you can find us on Instagram at the Blumes as well.
Awesome. So Instagram to check out some of your work, and then check out the community Facebook group to learn more about that project. I know you've got a lot of cool things related to that. You're doing some cool educational content that I've gotten a sneak peek of. So excited for people to see that stuff. Cool. Anything else? Any other exciting projects you want people to know about, or anything?
Thanks. Oh yeah, we were talking earlier, Josh, before we started about the. I guess I should mention next Wednesday, the 18th. We have a live webinar that we're doing to teach our maximized mini sessions. It's just been the biggest thing, the biggest rewarding thing. PPA, Professional Photographers of America, sent us around to different state groups to teach this. They just saw it having an effect. We got to teach it at WPPI as well as Imaging USA, and just kind of spreading it as a movement. I feel like kind of like we talked about that movement from shoot and share and businesses going under to a return to sanity and people providing product and having successful businesses through print. I really feel like this, for us, this has been maximizing mini sessions has been like a movement, bringing people toward a sane business structure that just serves clients really well and brings some life back to the photographer. And so we're excited to see that growing and catching on like wildfire. So we'll do that webinar and just teach as much as we can pack into an hour-long webinar, followed by some Q&A. And we can definitely provide the link for that so people can register and get in. I think our last time we did that some months ago had it like cut off at several hundred attendees. So
Cool.
just go in there and register, get a seat.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds exciting. I'll definitely put a link to all those things in the show notes so that everybody can find it easily. And the show, and I'll make sure this is out before that podcast, so everybody be seeing it. And but cool, yeah, awesome. Always awesome chatting with you guys. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people in your webinar for you so they can meet you themselves.
Great. Yeah, look forward to hearing from
Josh.
everyone. Thank you,
Appreciate
Josh.
it.
Appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate what you who you are, and we're excited to catch up with you in person next time.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Have a great night with those kiddos. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to episode number 3. Please like, share, comment, follow. Let us know who else you'd like to see on the show. Get in touch. You can check out the show notes at don'tfeedthephotographers.com to get links to all of the things that the guest mentioned in the show today. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Don't Feed the Photographers Photography Podcast.